Hi guys, I wanted to talk to you about something of an epiphany that I had this year with my garden journal. We have a local farmer that we get our produce from since we've lived here, because since we've lived here we haven't had a real heavily producing garden like we did in our last at our last place. At our last place we never had to buy any kind of vegetables during the growing season. But here we've had some successes, but mostly it's kind of been hit and miss. So this year I started to keep a little bit better track of things, and I had a little bit of an epiphany. So in between my monthly sheets, I have lined paper that I make notes on, and that are just like little jots. And then on my main cardstock is where I make my lists. So this Things We Eat is a completely new part of my system. And I thought of it, I think, the first week of August. So what I did was, in August, things we like to eat: peaches, Swiss chard, onions, green beans, summer squash, tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, and beets. And I'm just making these lists after going to the farmer's market, because those are the things that are seasonal right now. These are not lists that I'm making when I go to the grocery store. I'm only doing it at the farmer's market, because the farmer's market will show me what it's possible to be growing in this month. So let's see. And then below that, so here is things we eat, and then here is plant. So this month I need to plant in greenhouses or in boxes that I'm capable of turning into cold frames. I need to plant kale, Swiss chard, carrots, and peas. Because, and then, so if I want to eat those things in August, when would I have to plant them? I would have to plant them in April or May. So I have my regular things. So I didn't go as far back as this. I went back and made sure that everything that I want to eat in August I have listed in April, and where I need to put them. So when I plant strawberries, I need to protect and cover them. Let's see, plant peas, make sure they're covered, because in April we still have really cold weather. Plant seeds that need scarified. Plant asparagus if I think my asparagus isn't sufficient enough. So here I have everything that I am planting. And then in May, I have rectified some things that turned out this year not to work. So plant warm starts in cold frame, which means I would need to cover them. So if I want to be eating these things in August, I need to plant my tomatoes and my peppers out in May, and I just need to put them in a wall of water. So, and warnings to myself: sunstroke, everyone needs hats, long sleeve shoes, sunglasses. Only 1.5 hours in the sun at a time. So this is because in May, as we suddenly start to get a little bit of sunshine, that's when we get sunstroke. Manure tea, everything, established trees, established trees. So there's what I have written for May. Things I need to plant in May if I want to eat them in August. Then I get to June. And see, okay, so there was May, and then on the back side of May, I have written down the things that we're able to eat in May if I planted them in February and March. So things we eat here are spinach, Swiss chard, peas, and salad, because it's still quite cold. Take off glass, but use plastic cloches over pumpkins, summer squash, winter squash, cucumbers. Put glass up during day and keep frost cloth on. So I've given very specific instructions to myself for what I should be doing in May. And so here's June, things we eat. So these are the things I would be finding at the farmer's market or on my own property that would do well in June. Swiss chard, spinach, strawberries, June berries, peas, salad, cabbage, Chinese cabbage, and we did really well with bok choy and Chinese cabbage this year. Wow, did they take off. So in order to have things that we want to be able to be eating in August and September, oh, I didn't write that down. That was foolish. I haven't done that one yet. Okay, so June, I haven't written down what I need to be planting in June. Let's see, where's July? There's July. So in July, here are all the things that we should be eating by July. And this is the first time you'll see summer squash because it does take a long time for the squashes and the string beans and stuff to come on. And these are things that I'm writing down that don't include a heavy-duty winter garden. These are things that I'm able to start with a cold frame and just keep covered with things like walls of water. So here are things we should be eating because my farmer had them available in July. I should be able to have them in July. And when we lived at our last house, I did have things like cucumbers in June and July. I had less on my plate, so I really focused harder on my garden. So summer squash, string beans, peas. So July is a really heavy month because you're still getting things like peas, but you're adding into it things like peaches and apricots and cherries and cucumbers and bell peppers. So this is what we eat in July. It's the month with the most variety. Watering once a week. So in July, what do we need to plant? In July, we need to plant Swiss chard, kale, carrots, and peas. Do you see there's no spinach in this one because spinach, and there's no lettuce because spinach and lettuce would bolt too easily. So the things that I'm planting here that will be mature by about September are these things that can handle the heat a little more. Here, peas actually do pretty good because if I plant them in the shade, they don't need a whole lot of sunlight. Go turn it down to low. Quickly. Yes, go turn it down to low. Thank you. So loud. And again, here are all my lists, my pages. Apparently I had a lot of things to think about in July because I had lots and lots of pages of things that I wanted to get done. I needed to remember. So here in August, what I need to plant, because I need it to be cold hardy, because anything I plant in August needs to be able to handle frost. So I planted kale, Swiss chard, carrots, and peas again. All things. In August, your menu is smaller because the cold things like spinach and peas are starting to be strained by the hot weather. And then down here I have a note to myself that says, take out grow bed and put on panels, and that's for the greenhouse. So, more to-do lists that I put just for myself to scribble in. And then we get into September. What do we eat in September? Pumpkins, Swiss chard, corn, tomatoes, beets, cucumbers, green beans, winter squash, garlic, onions, apples. And I have a note here, end of the month. So end of September is when I'll start watching for onions, apples, and what's the last one say? Pears. And I can plant radishes. Because in September, I need something that has a very short growing season need that can handle a little bit of strain. Because once you start getting past September, you don't have enough daylight for that good heavy growth. So here it is, and I'm trying to do little doodles for myself of what I want my cold frames to look like and how I want to improve upon them. And then in October, what do we eat in October? We would eat kale, Swiss chard, winter squash, pumpkins, potatoes, onions, garlic, apples, and pears. What do I plant in October? I plant garlic. And the thing that I need to build in October is a duck greenhouse and a goat greenhouse because I really want them to have a little more warmth this year by being able to retain some of that sunshine but keep the wind out. So that's what I want to do in October. In November, what do we eat in November? We would be able to eat kale, Swiss chard, potatoes, winter squash, pumpkins, onions, and garlic. And I don't plant anything in November because our daylight hours are too short for it to have any real growing season. And then in December, it would all pretty much be a duplicate of that. So the only thing really here that is fresh to eat is the kale and the Swiss chard. Everything else you have harvested and you have in winter storage. Now, if you guys don't think this is an awesome idea, I guess that's fine. But to me, it really was a huge epiphany. And see, if I get my hotbed started in January, then it means that by February, I can start planting things. Because February is when you start to have an increase of daylight hours that gives that huge push for vegetation to start putting out new leaves as long as it's not getting too cold. So anyway, I hope that was really helpful. August is the last month that you can really do heavy plantings if you want a winter garden. So anybody that's planning on doing that, make sure and go out and buy some kale, some Swiss chard, and some bok choy, some Chinese cabbage, those kinds of things. And look up Caleb Warnock. He does his winter garden in Utah, which is a zone 5, which is still a zone warmer than us here. But he does it without a secondary greenhouse. He does it with just cold frames and hotbeds. So check him out, and we will talk to you later.